Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts is with us now. She wrote a book on her life and key policies. A Fighting Chance is just out in paperback. Good morning and welcome back.
Good morning.
Studio 57.
Yeah. Good to be here.
Your thoughts about the conviction in Massachusetts and a healing for the people of Massachusetts?
You know, nothing is ever going to make those who are injured whole. And it's been a terrible thing, the marathon bombing. But this is a step toward justice. And now we go to the penalty phase. No one had much doubt about the first part, and that is the guilt. This is all now going to be about what the consequences will be.
Do you think he should get the death penalty?
You know, my heart goes out to the families here, but I don't support the death penalty. I think that he should spend his life in jail. No possibility of parole. He should die in prison. But that's how I see it. It will be up to the jury.
It was interesting that John Miller was here earlier, who's head of the NYPD and counter, saying that what happens to Joe Arsenault may be interpreted by terrorists around the world, whether he gets the death penalty or whether he's allowed to stay in prison. And
suggesting if he gets a death penalty, make him more of a martyr.
Yeah.
You know, that's the reminder here. The alternative to the death penalty is not as if, you know, you turn this guy free.
Yeah.
The point is that he stays in prison, he dies in prison, he's put away. He's not a danger to anyone else. And he's not a part of an ongoing story. He's not someone who tries to then, or is able to keep sucking up a lot of energy and a lot of attention. The families need their chance to heal, to move on beyond this, and I think that's what really matters most.
Indeed. Let's turn to politics now. In the Democratic Party, Hillary Clinton could announce any day now that she is going to seek the presidential nomination and presidency in 2016. Do you think she's the future of the Democratic Party?
Well, I think we have to see, first of all, if she declares and what she says she wants to run on. I think that's really the interesting question at this point.
You know her and you know her positions on most issues. Does she represent the Democratic Party that you believe the Democratic Party ought to be?
No, I don't think the Democratic Party is a static thing. The Democratic Party grows. The Democratic Party is full of energy right now. The Democratic Party is very much about drawing contrast, frankly, with the Republican Party. I'll give you a very specific example of that. Right now, the United States government makes billions of dollars in profits off the backs of kids who are trying to get an education through student loans. And the Democrats, 100% of us, have lined up to say in the United States Senate the interest rate on student loans should be reduced. That would save a lot of people hundreds of dollars a year, some thousands of dollars a year. The Republicans have lined up on the other side and said, no, it is more important to protect tax loopholes for millionaires and billionaires than it is to give our kids a break. So it's that kind of issue that I think really divides us and really gives us a sense of the energy of the new Democratic Party.
But if someone doesn't challenge Hillary Clinton in a primary, do you think that debate will happen? Do you think there needs to be a vigorous debate within the Democratic Party?
Look, I think there needs to be a vigorous debate in the whole question about running for president. I think everyone who's running for president should be talking about what they plan to do to strengthen and rebuild America's middle class. Let's be clear, this has been my lifetime's work, and I have watched year by year by year where America's middle class just has to take one punch after another. We've reached a point, this isn't going to work anymore. I talk about this a lot in my book, about what it means to fight back, how I fought back personally, but also the kinds of fights we need to have.
Well, you also talk about how the minimum wage meant everything to your mother at a time in which she needed that to survive.
And that really is the key point. My dad had had a heart attack. We had lost our family car. We nearly lost the house. My mother got a minimum wage job at a time when a minimum wage job would support a family of three, kept us above water. Today, that won't happen, and that's because of policies written in Washington.
15?
Well, the point is it should certainly be higher than it is.
It's hard to get you to be more specific.
Well,
you know, when you talk about the Democratic Party is a thing, and it's going here and there, and it's always changing.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was not specific about let's reduce the interest rate on student loans to 3.89%?
You've been saying that in a lot of different. I know you've been saying that in a lot of different places, and that's a very specific position.
And I have supported our efforts to try to get the minimum wage.
And you say, well,
I have supported it at 10.10. I would support it at a higher number, and I'm perfectly willing to sit down and negotiate with those who are willing to raise.
What we're trying to understand is that you really have become the voice of a wing of the Democratic Party, and maybe all of the party. And what we want to know is, where does Elizabeth Warren want to see this party go?
Oh,
golly, how could you not know? In terms of minimum wage, in terms of income inequality, in terms of a whole range of things.
I'm ready.
You're ready to tell them where you are and where you think the country is, and where you differ from former Secretary of State Clinton. Well, why can't you tell us that? Why isn't that in the interest of a full debate about the future of the country, the future of the Democratic Party, and who the nominee ought to be?
Charlie, I'll tell you where I stand on all of the key issues. It's up to others to say whether they stand there as well or they stand in some different place. I'll tell you where I stand on minimum wage. I'll tell you where I stand on equal pay for equal work. I'll tell you where I stand on expanding.
Name me one thing that you would like to see Hillary Clinton do and say and commit to that she has not committed to.
Well, I'd like to see her address all of these issues. You know, we have a big debate going on right now on trade within the Democratic Party. I have real concerns about something called the Investor-State Dispute Resolution that basically would permit multinational companies to sue other countries when they try to put regulations in place to protect their own workers, to protect their own citizens. I think this is a really dangerous provision in a trade deal,
and does that put you on the opposite side of the president?
It certainly does.
It certainly does.
It certainly does.
The Hill says Elizabeth Warren plays Ted Cruz role with House Democrats. That's an interesting comparison, to say the very least. I mean, do you see that as your role, to play a sort of Ted Cruz-esque role on the other side with Democrats?
You know, look, my job is to stand up for what I believe in, to talk about it as clearly as I can, but I want to be 100% clear on this. I will work with anyone, Democrat, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, vegetarian, who will work on the issues. Humanitarian. Give me some more here.
Cruzitarian.
Who will work.
Republicans.
Republicans were the first. Yeah. Who will work to try to strengthen America's families again. I believe this is the _1 issue facing this country.
You know what everybody does? I mean, the interesting thing about this campaign, it ought to be about that debate.
Yes.
Because everyone understands that something has happened to the middle class in America, and we need to find the best ideas to change that.
Yes.
Yeah. About working together. The debate should be about how people can work together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Senator Elizabeth Warren, always good to have you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right.